Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to try something that takes less than 3 minutes, costs almost nothing, and works through a biological pathway that most men over 50 have never been told exists. Not a pill, not a procedure, not something that requires a prescription or a clinic visit or a conversation you have been dreading. Something you do with your own hands, in your own bedroom, in the dark, before you close your eyes. And the men who have made this a nightly habit, men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, are reporting changes in morning confidence, pelvic circulation, and intimate performance that they describe with one word more than any other. Finally, here is the belief most men carry into their 50s and 60s about potency and vascular response. That what has declined permanently. That the pathways responsible for arousal, engorgement, and intimate performance have simply aged past the point of meaningful response. That the options are either pharmaceutical, with all the dependency and side effects that come with that, or acceptance. Quiet, private, often lonely acceptance. I have sat across from men carrying that belief for years, and what I have found consistently is that the belief itself is one of the most significant barriers to recovery, because the biology does not agree with it. The body has not given up. In most cases, the body is simply not receiving the signals it needs. And one of the most direct, underused, and genuinely effective ways to restore those signals is through the skin of the lower back, directly over the sacral nerve plexus. My name is Dr. Mariana. I am a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist with over 16 years of clinical experience. I work primarily with men between 50 and 80, and the intersection of nervous system health, vascular function, and male potency is one of the areas I have studied and treated most extensively. What I am about to share is not anecdote. It is grounded in the neuroscience of transdermal absorption, the anatomy of the sacral nerve network, and the specific pharmacological properties of the oils and compounds that research has identified as genuinely bioactive through this pathway. This channel exists to give men that information clearly and without the gatekeeping that so often surrounds it. If you are new here, subscribe and hit the like button. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I want to know who is in this community today. Now, let me tell you what you are going to rub on your lower back and exactly why it works. The first thing you need to understand is the anatomy that makes this approach effective. Running along the lower spine, specifically from the second to the fourth sacral vertebrae, the area at the very base of your spine, just above the tailbone, is a dense network of nerves called the sacral plexus. This nerve network is the primary neural highway for male sexual function. It carries the parasympathetic signals responsible for initiating and sustaining erection. It governs the vascular dilation that allows blood to rush into erectile tissue. It controls the muscular contractions of the pelvic floor involved in ejaculation. It regulates sensation, engorgement, and the entire chain of events that male potency depends on. Think of the sacral plexus as the electrical junction box behind the wall of a building. Every light in the rooms, every function, every response is wired through that box. When the junction box is functioning well, the lights come on when you flip the switch. When it is compromised by inflammation, by poor circulation, by chronic nerve tension, the lights flicker, dim, or fail to respond at all. The lower back is not just a structural location. It is the external access point to the most important neural infrastructure in male sexual health. And the skin over it is permeable. This is the second concept that makes this protocol scientifically credible: transdermal bioavailability. The skin is not a wall. It is a selectively permeable membrane, a gateway through which certain molecules, particularly lipophilic ones, molecules that are fat-soluble, can pass and enter the underlying tissue, nerve sheaths, and circulatory system. This is the same biological mechanism behind nicotine patches, hormone replacement patches, and a growing range of pharmaceutical transdermal delivery systems. The skin over the lower back is particularly well suited to this delivery method because it sits directly over a region with dense nerve tissue, significant blood supply, and relatively thin subcutaneous fat, all factors that facilitate absorption and delivery to the target tissue. What you apply to the skin of the lower back at night does not simply sit on the surface. With the right carrier oil and the right active compounds, it penetrates. And if those compounds have biological activity on vascular and neural tissue, that activity begins. The primary oil I recommend to patients for this protocol is a specific combination, and I want to be precise about each component and why it earns its place. The base is castor oil, cold-pressed, hexane-free castor oil. Castor oil is one of the most deeply penetrating carrier oils known to dermatological science. Its primary fatty acid, ricinoleic acid, is uniquely structured in a way that allows it to move through the skin barrier more effectively than almost any other natural oil. It also carries a significant anti-inflammatory effect on the tissue beneath the skin, and chronic perineural inflammation, inflammation of the tissue surrounding the sacral nerve roots, is one of the primary mechanisms by which potency and vascular response decline in men over 50. Think of chronic perineural inflammation as a slow buildup of pressure on the electrical junction box, not breaking the wires but squeezing them until the signal weakens. Castor oil applied regularly to the overlying skin has been shown to reduce local inflammatory markers in a meaningful way. It is the vehicle and the first active agent simultaneously. To the castor oil base, add ginger essential oil, 3 to 5 drops per application. Ginger oil contains concentrated gingerols and zingiberine, compounds with potent vasodilatory and anti-inflammatory properties. Applied transdermally over the sacral region, ginger oil creates a local warming and vasodilatory effect in the superficial and deep tissue, increasing blood flow to the sacral nerve network, improving the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the nerve roots, and directly stimulating circulation in the pelvic region that feeds into the vascular response system for intimate function. Think of ginger oil as turning up the heat in a cold engine room, warming the tissue, loosening the tension, getting circulation moving through a system that has been running cold and slow for too long. Men who begin using ginger oil in this protocol consistently describe a warmth in the lower back and pelvic region within 10 to 15 minutes of application. And that warmth is not merely a surface sensation. It reflects genuine vasodilation occurring in the underlying tissue. The second essential oil to add is clary sage, 2 to 3 drops per application. Clary sage contains a compound called sclareol, which has a molecular structure similar enough to human estrogen precursors that it interacts with hormonal receptor sites, but its specific action in men is on cortisol suppression rather than estrogen stimulation. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, is testosterone's most direct biological antagonist. When cortisol is chronically elevated, which is nearly universal in men over 50, living under the accumulated stress load of modern life, it directly suppresses testosterone synthesis, impairs the neural pathways governing sexual response, and creates the kind of hormonal environment where potency struggles regardless of what else you do. Clary sage applied transdermally at night, when cortisol is at its daily nadir and the body is transitioning into hormonal restoration mode, has been shown in aromatherapy and botanical medicine research to reduce salivary cortisol levels measurably. You are not just applying an oil to your skin, you are sending a specific chemical signal to your hormonal system at the most receptive moment of the day. Think of it as whispering the right instructions into your body's ear, just before it goes into its nightly repair cycle. I want to stop here and ask you directly, before today, had you ever considered your lower back as an access point to your sexual health? Had the connection between the sacral nerve network and potency ever been explained to you? Comment below and tell me, because the gap between what men are told and what the anatomy actually reveals is one of the things that drives me to keep making these videos. The third essential oil in this protocol is frankincense, specifically Boswellia serrata-derived frankincense oil, 2 drops per application. Frankincense contains boswellic acids, among the most researched natural anti-inflammatory compounds in existence. Their specific action is on a class of inflammatory enzymes called 5-LOX, lipoxygenase enzymes, which are distinct from the COX-2 enzymes that most common anti-inflammatory agents target. The 5-LOX pathway is particularly active in nerve tissue inflammation, the specific type of inflammation that impairs sacral nerve signal transmission. By targeting this pathway transdermally at the site of the sacral plexus, frankincense oil addresses a root cause of neural signal degradation that most interventions, including pharmaceutical ones, do not specifically target. Think of it as a highly precise repair crew sent to fix the exact type of damage happening in the exact location where it matters most. Broad interventions miss this. Targeted transdermal application does not. Now, application method matters enormously, and I want to be specific. Combine 2 tablespoons of cold-pressed castor oil with 3 to 5 drops of ginger essential oil, 2 to 3 drops of clary sage essential oil, and 2 drops of frankincense essential oil in a small dark glass bottle. Light degrades essential oils, so storage matters. Shake gently before each use. At night, after your shower or after you have washed your hands, pour approximately a teaspoon of the blended oil into your palm. Apply it to the lower back, specifically the sacral region, which is the flat triangular bone at the base of your spine, the area between your two hip bones and above the tailbone. Use firm, slow circular pressure rather than light surface strokes. The goal is not just surface application, but to drive the oil into the skin through pressure and friction. Spend 90 seconds on each side of the spine, a total of 3 minutes. Then, lie down on your back with a pillow placed under your knees to gently decompress the lumbar and sacral region and maximize blood flow to the area while the oils absorb. Remain in this position for at least 10 minutes before sleeping. This positioning is not incidental. It actively improves sacral circulation during the absorption window and allows the compounds to reach the target tissue before you shift into sleep position. Consistency is the multiplier for everything I have described. The first night produces warmth and a gentle circulatory shift. The first week produces a noticeable improvement in pelvic sensation and often in morning confidence, as the sacral nerve network begins receiving better vascular supply during the nightly REM cycle. The third and fourth week is typically when men report the changes that bring them back to tell me what happened. Improved first response firmness, stronger morning erections, a return of the spontaneous pelvic aliveness that most men over 50 had stopped expecting. Think of this protocol not as a treatment but as a nightly conversation with your nervous system. One you conduct in the same language your body already speaks: warmth, circulation, neural signal, restoration. Let me tell you about Michael. He was 61 years old, a secondary school head teacher, a man accustomed to being in control of complex systems, and quietly humbled when his own body became one he could not manage. He had tried 2 different oral medications. One gave him headaches severe enough to make the benefit feel like a poor trade. The other produced results that were mechanical and incomplete: function without the feeling of function, performance without presence. What he described wanting was not just a body that worked. He wanted to feel connected to his own response again, to feel that what was happening was his, arising from his own biology, not manufactured from outside it. We introduced the nightly sacral oil protocol as one component of a broader approach. 6 weeks later, he sent a message through my clinic portal, something my patients can do between appointments. It said simply, "The lights are back on." 3 months later, he came in for a follow-up. He was not the same man who had sat quietly across from me describing what he had lost. He was a man who had found something, understood how it worked, and was not going to let it go again. That is the shift I am after, not dependence on a solution, ownership of a system. I want to speak to the man at 68, at 73, at 79, watching this and wondering whether his body is still capable of responding to something this simple and this natural. Wondering whether the years are simply too many and the distance from where he once was is simply too great. I want to answer that directly. The sacral nerve network does not age the way joints or discs age. The neural tissue responds to improved circulation, reduced inflammation, and restored signal quality at ages well beyond what most men have been led to believe. The vascular tissue of the pelvic region retains meaningful capacity for functional improvement across the 7th, 8th, and even 9th decade of life when the right conditions are created. This is not hope offered as consolation. This is what the neuroscience and vascular research consistently demonstrate. Dignity is not something the years take. It is something the right conditions restore. And 3 minutes of your own hands on your own lower back every night is a condition you can create starting tonight. Here is your action summary. Purchase cold-pressed hexane-free castor oil, ginger essential oil, clary sage essential oil, and frankincense essential oil, all available at health food stores and online. Combine 2 tablespoons of castor oil with 5 drops of ginger, 3 drops of clary sage, and 2 drops of frankincense in a dark glass bottle. Every night after your shower, apply 1 teaspoon of the blend to your sacral region using firm circular pressure for 3 minutes, 90 seconds each side. Lie on your back with a pillow under your knees for 10 minutes while the oils absorb. Do this every night for 30 consecutive days without skipping. Track your morning confidence each day, yes or no, strong or weak. Track your pelvic sensation and intimate response at the end of each week. 30 days, 3 minutes a night, your own hands, your own biology, your own results. If this video gave you something real, a pathway you did not know existed, a protocol you can start tonight without a prescription or a clinic visit, please hit the like button and share this with a man over 50 who deserves to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss what comes next on this channel. And for your comment tonight, I want something specific. Tell me which part of this protocol you are starting with tonight and what you are hoping to notice first. Say it in the comments. Own it. The men in this community are watching, and your commitment might be the reason someone else makes theirs. Aging is not the end of vitality. It is an invitation to live smarter.